Welcome, welcome. And today we are talking specifically about energy protection because I think it's the third most important skill behind the skills that I've talked about thus far, which is feeling your feelings and um now I'm blanking. Feeling your feelings, including anger and rage. Those are one and the same, but there's two separate skill sets for that. And those two are all about centering yourself, making sure that you have the capacity to be able to feel the hard feelings that come up. And the other one, maybe those are the two. Yeah, those are actually the two. Okay, those are the two. So those are important to do first. And then the third skill is energy protection. So I haven't really talked that much about this. And we talked about energy protection a little bit in last week's live, but hold on a second. And all of these skills are available on my YouTube page, which is linked in my bio. So you can find the skills if you have missed some of those lives. I am posting my lives there, and I will post this live as well, so that you can hear everything, all of the context around the skills, and learn the skills specifically to be able to navigate challenging situations with your family. That's specifically what I'm focusing on. These techniques and these skills can help every single relationship that you have. But specifically, we talk about family because family is where your original trauma comes from. Family is where you have traumatic history with people. And those are oftentimes the relationships where we learn the most because they're the most challenging. So my intention in focusing on family members is specifically because a lot of times family members are the ones that challenge us the most to be able to stay in our peace because they have shared trauma and shared history with us. So you either stay in a state of anger and resentment towards them, or you learn the skills to create peace for yourself no matter what they're doing. And so my intention is that you do learn the skills to create a peaceful existence. And it doesn't mean that you cut them out. I am not a proponent of cutting people out of your life. I think that that is a trauma response. So unless there's actual like danger, like you are physically in danger, of course, leave the situation. But otherwise, if it's people in your life, if it's family members in your life that have woundedness that's affecting their behavior, and you're learning new skills and they're not meeting you where you are want to be met, oh, this is the perfect scenario for you to be able to learn to stay more in your power. And those people, by the way, those people who challenge you the most because they're unhealed, they are your greatest teachers because there's no possible way you could know how powerful you are without meeting that type of resistance, that type of tension in your life, and then ascending beyond it. Then you actually know how powerful you are. And that is what I teach. So I think that there was a comment before. Let's see. Frenzy. Hey, Frenzy. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Frenzy said, I take space, but then get labeled as the grudge holder. Right. So does it upset you that you get labeled as the grudge holder? Because if you take space and you're okay with it, then what I'm hearing is that it doesn't actually matter that they call you grudge holder. What actually matters is how you feel about them calling you grudge holders. And if it's bothering you, then you probably feel some type of way. And that's where feeling of feelings practice comes in. And so I encourage you to go onto my YouTube and find the feeling of feelings practice, because it's so funny because our family can trigger us just by them feeling some way. And so we're ascending beyond that. That's what energy protection is about, and that's what I want to talk about today. But on this particular topic, the energy protection skill is really the third skill that you should learn. The first two skills are the most important skills, feeling of feelings and feeling anger and rage. Those skills that anybody can develop, those need to be the foundation of your practices. And by the way, these are practices. These are practices, so that means that you do need to practice them regularly. Doesn't mean every day, but it means for sure every week. So what matters is not that they call you grudge holder, it's how you feel about them calling you grudge holder. So that's what we want to get in touch with, because you know, I think that sometimes when we when there's this tension, especially with family members who, inherently being family, we want to have good relationships with our family. We want to feel connected. We want to feel seen, heard, and understood by them. But more often than not, if you're on the spiritual journey, your family's not going to be the ones to see, hear, and understand you. So it's not their responsibility to change. It's your responsibility to change your expectation of them and to be able to get to a place where you accept them and love them where they're at, despite them not being able to meet you where you want to be. So that's where these skills come in. And how you feel about them holding the grudge is perhaps you're hurt. And that's a good place to start. Okay. So, okay. I'm not sure. Hey, Sunset. Oh my gosh, I'm glad to see you. I know you said that you can't always make Tuesdays, so welcome, my dear. Um, I don't know what you mean, meta trash, with your comment. Okay, frenzy. I feel misunderstood, mislabeled, and not cared for. So, what's the feeling? What's the feeling that comes up? Because you've labeled kind of like experiences still, and this is where we have to learn to get into the emotions. We have to label what is the actual emotion that you feel. Like, what is the emotion that comes up when you feel misunderstood, mislabeled, and not cared for? What is that emotion, right? That's what we want to get to first. Thank you, Sunset, for sharing the live. Please like and share the lives, my dear, the live, the live, my dears, because I think this is really important information and I'd love for other people to join the conversation. Okay, frenzy. I feel sad. Great to see you too, Sunset. Perfect, frenzy. So I wasn't planning on doing the feeling of feelings practice. No, I don't think I'll do that tonight. But I want you to go on to my YouTube page and find the feeling of feelings practice and then do that practice with what you're feeling, because this is the perfect start. And this is a perfect example of how where we start from is this place of like they did this or they said this, they think this. And do you see how when we do that, we're actually centering them? Like they are the center of the thought pattern. They are the center of what we're focusing on. And so when we change it to how do I feel about whatever they said or did, now we're starting to center ourselves, and that is way more healthy. Thank you, Sunset, my dear. It's and this is where we start to step into the empowered place where we are able to create a level of peace for ourselves within ourselves, because we can only do that when we're centering ourselves and not centering them. So that means that I'm not going to center what they say or what they do. I'm going to turn that back to myself and be like, how do I feel about that? Usually there's the feelings are sadness and hurt and disappointment. And that's what we get to focus on in our journey, because we're not focusing on them, we're focusing on ourselves. And I know you're asking like, oh, okay, then what? What do I do with it? That's where the feeling of feelings practice comes in. So go take a look at that. And oftentimes anger can come up too, and that usually comes up as a mask for those other more vulnerable emotions. So that's why I have an anger and rage practice too, because if we feel a lot of anger and rage, we're never going to get to the sadness. So we need to have a practice for feeling the anger and rage. and then a practice for feeling the harder feelings that are underneath that. Okay, so okay, Leslie, I cut off most of my family. How does that feel for you, Leslie? Bella, I just took a bath to wash away his negative energy. Okay, great. So, um, here's the thing, and this is what we're gonna talk about today, and I'll actually teach you the practice of energy, a very foundational practice of energy protection. But what I want to say about this is that yes, taking a bath is a great way to cleanse yourself. And so it's good to have those practices, and in particular, water is great for you to be able to cleanse any energy off that you may have picked up. But the only reason that you're picking up any external energy is because you're leaching energy in your energy field. So your energy field is not, it's not secure. And by the way, I'm going to talk about this as like a foundational practice for as you're starting to navigate this journey with family members who you're trying to navigate boundary conversations with, you're trying to figure out how to have a relationship with people who trigger you, because it is possible. And as a matter of fact, it's necessary. It's a part of life. And it's not a great idea to just simply cut out everybody that triggers you, because then you're not standing in your power. You're not feeling empowered in their presence. Actually, you become a victim of their energy. So my intention is that we learn how to not become a victim of other people's energy, but actually secure our own energy so that we can stand in any room around any person and we can be completely empowered and in our peace. Do you see what I mean? Do you see the difference? So that's what we're going to talk about, Bella. So I think that it's still great. It's like when you're on this journey, you want to still have those practices where you kind of cleanse yourself and cleanse your energy system. You might have heard of like cutting the cord. That's another great practice and great tool for um ending like an energetic tie, like an energetic bond or tie that you have with another person that doesn't feel good. So we can cut the cords, but we're not going to do that today. Thank you, Sarah, for the follow. Okay, Frenzy said, I transform my feelings easily, then re-enter the space and they're still fighting. Feels like a cycle. Yes. Okay, so thank you for sharing that, because this is exactly the place where energy protection comes in. Because what's happening is that you're like, if I'm understanding you correctly, you can move through the feelings pretty easily, but then you go back into the space and then you're triggered again. What's happening is you're just getting re-triggered every time. So it probably feels pretty exhausting. So that's where energy protection comes in. Thank you, Jenny, for the follow. Okay, so let's do the energy protection practice. Okay, so I want you to close your eyes and take a deep breath. You're going to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Make sure that you're sitting up straight, that your back is straight. If that's not comfortable, then just lay down so that your back is straight. I'm going to reposition. Take a deep breath, breathe in, and make sure that you're breathing into your lungs and then down into your stomach so that your stomach inflates, and then breathe out through your mouth. Okay. One more time, breathe in and breathe out through your mouth slowly. Now I want you to imagine a column of light coming down from above you, coming down from your guides, from the universe, from heaven, whatever you want to call it, God. And it's going right through the crown of your head, down through your spinal cord. Take a breath, breathe in, and breathe out. Imagine that light spreading and filling up every part of your body, a bright white light. Feel that light allowing peace to spread through your body. Take a breath and breathe out. Now make sure that you're letting go of any tension in your brow, your forehead, your eyes, your jaw. Let your jaw hang loose, let your mouth hang slightly open, let your shoulders relax. Release any tension and just feel a peaceful energy. Breathe in and out. Now I want you to imagine a ball of light right at the bottom of your ribs. And it starts to grow. And it's a gold. It turns into a gold bubble. And it grows and it starts to stretch outside of you, and it stretches outside of your body, and it encloses your body, and it stretches and stretches and stretches 6 feet in every direction around you. It's a gold bubble and it's impenetrable. And watch how that white light goes from your body and reaches out and fills up that gold bubble. And within this bubble, you are safe. Nothing can touch you, nothing can reach you, no negativity can touch you. And I want you to repeat these words. In my bubble, I am safe. Say it out loud. Take a breath and breathe out. Continue imagining yourself in this bubble of light and say out loud, in my bubble, I am completely at peace at all times. And feel your chest fall, the tension in your chest fall. Breathe in, breathe out. In my bubble, there is nothing to fix, there is nothing to do, there is nothing to change. I can just simply rest and be in peace in my bubble. Take a breath. And in my bubble, I am fully seen, fully heard, and fully understood at all times. Speak it out loud. Take another breath and breathe out. Say it again. In my bubble, I am safe at all times. In my bubble, I am at peace at all times. In my bubble, there's nothing to fix, there's nothing to change, there's nothing to do. I can just rest in peace and be. In and out. And in my bubble, I am fully seen, fully heard, and fully understood at all times. And feel the peace in your body, in your chest. Feel it relax in your throat. Feel it relax in your forehead and your third eye. Feel it calm. Imagine this bubble around you. It's impenetrable. So even when those triggers happen, they can't get to you. You are completely at peace. And it doesn't matter if those certain people see you, hear you, or understand you, because in your bubble, you are already fully seen, fully heard, and fully understood. So you don't need them to do that. And it doesn't matter if there's fighting going on around you. It doesn't matter if there's yelling. It doesn't matter if there's criticism. It doesn't matter whatever the trigger is. It can't touch you here. You are safe. Breathe in and breathe out. And now I want you to think of the person that triggers you the most, person that you find it so hard to be around. And think of the behavior, the thing that they do, the thing that they say that creates anger and rage in you. Or maybe creates sadness and hurt. Now imagine you're in the environment where that happens. Maybe it's at their house. Maybe it's somewhere else, wherever this might typically occur. Imagine yourself in that space, and you might automatically feel in your body a little increase in tension, a little increase in anxiety being in that space. But I want you to imagine yourself right before you step into it. And imagine the bubble down at the root of your ribs. And remember, it's coming from inside of you. So the bubble grows from inside of you and stretches out, 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 out. Before you step into that space, put your bubble up. It stretches 6 feet in every direction, and then the light spreads from inside of you throughout that area of the bubble so that you are completely protected. And as you're standing just outside that space, say the words out loud. In my bubble, I am safe. In my bubble, I am at peace. In my bubble, there's nothing to change. There's nothing to fix. There is nothing to do. In my bubble, I am fully seen, fully heard, and fully understood at all times. Breathe in and out. Okay, you're in your bubble. Now you step into that space. Feel your chest still calm, still at peace. Your stomach, your head, everything is at peace in this space. And there they are, that person. And imagine them doing or saying the thing that triggers you, and you watch it like you're watching something from the third person, like a movie. They might be aiming it at you, but you're not receiving it because it comes towards your bubble and it bounces right off the bubble. You literally cannot receive it. Take a breath and breathe out. Maybe you even kind of smile to yourself because it's impossible to get to you because you are completely safe here. Take another breath. Breathe out. And you can open your eyes. Keep breathing as you come back. And let me know in the chat how that was for you. How did it feel? Let me know how that felt for you. And please do like and share the live if you feel that this is helpful. Hi, Ocean, my dear. Good to see you. Bella, great. Bella, what felt great about it? I'm so curious. Oh, hey, Ocean. Good, Ocean. I'm so glad. And you know what? I've been posting these lives on my YouTube. So I'm gonna post this live on my YouTube page, which is linked in my bio, so you can rewatch it and rewatch the practice and do it again. Sunset, it felt great. I feel relaxed and calm. That's wonderful. Lisa in Arizona, you blocked them all and love it. Well, that's your decision, but I don't recommend it. Ocean, I love this. Thank you so much. You're so welcome, my dear. Thank you for being here. I'm so glad that this is helpful. Bella, I need to work on this protection. Okay, so with energetic protection, this is something that you do, I would say every day, for a period of time. If you encounter this particular person or these people every day, then you do the practice every day. You do it in the morning to protect yourself while you're going into the environment, or if you have, let's say, an event coming up where you're going to see these people, then leading up to the event, you do the practice. Make sure that you imagine yourself in your bubble, in the space around those people. Because what you're actually doing is you're teaching your brain and you're teaching your body to react differently so that it doesn't react in this fight, flight, freeze, so that it doesn't react from an anxious state, but that you're teaching it to feel calm in a space and around a person that would have typically triggered you. This is how we start to get out of the patterns. Okay, but like I said, you need the feeling of feelings practice first and the rage, anger, and rage practice second. This is the third. This is the third skill. Okay, those are important because you need those as a foundation. So if this was helpful, then go onto my YouTube and look at the other practices because it's all going to be really helpful. You need to work on this protection. Yes, Bella, you do. We all do. And Ocean said, me too. I want to learn. I think it could be life-changing. Oh, it's absolutely 100% life-changing. This kind of practice, you know, the reason why people cut people out of their lives is because the same cycle happens over and over. Somebody just a little while earlier said it feels like a cycle. I think it was you, Frenzy. That it feels like the same cycle, like maybe you can navigate your own emotions, but then you go back into the space and it's the same thing. The reason is because you're getting triggered again. So you go back into that space, your body already clocks that space and that person as dangerous. Your body's already on edge. And it's going to react the exact same way to that person and that place as it always has, which is anxiety, fear, anger, whatever it is that comes up for you when you're triggered, which are typically those emotions, that's what it's going to do, because your body knows patterns. Trauma is pattern. So when your body recognizes a space or a person that it doesn't trust, that it doesn't feel safe with, that it doesn't feel safe in the presence of, it will react as if it's in complete danger. It will react as if, the old example of there's a saber-toothed tiger chasing you, it will react that way. So if you don't intentionally develop a practice and use this practice where you're teaching your body and your brain a new narrative, then your body's always going to react that way around that person. And the reason people cut people out of their lives is because those people, they would say, or when you're unhealed, you would say, I cut them out because they were toxic. They were a narcissist. They were a gaslighter. They still did all the things I told them not to do. And this is where, if you've been to my lives before and we talk about boundaries, this is where the control of people comes in, and people don't know how to set boundaries properly. So they try to control, they try to tell people, you can't do this around me, or you can't talk to me that way, or you can't do this. Don't do this. Don't treat me this way. Those aren't boundaries. Those are rules, and that's control. And guess what? When you're trying to control how other people act around you, you will never, ever reach the state of internal peace that you're hoping to achieve in your life. It is through these practices that I teach that you will achieve internal peace over time. It's not going to happen overnight, but that's why I call them practices, because you have to start developing new habits to support yourself. Energy protection is one of the most foundational things that you can do in order to teach yourself, but it doesn't work if you just do it once. Today is not enough. And the feeling of feelings practice I teach, one time's not enough. You have to make these practices every single time. Using your intuition and what feels right for you, as always. That is how you get to the state of internal peace that you're hoping to achieve. It is through implementing new practices that support yourself, that support you internally, emotionally, that support you mentally, that support your growth and your journey and where you're at. And I can tell that if you're here right now, you're definitely in a place. I mean, I see you guys chatting and saying, Ocean saying that it could be life-changing. It absolutely is. And that's why I share this, because it's changed my life. These are the tools that changed my life. I spent years being stuck in that victim energy until I really developed the tools and had an amazing coach, and also developed tools myself along my journey, which I now share. And Frenzy, yeah, I think I kind of answered that. So I'm going to expand on that now, actually, because I think this is really an important piece. When you cut somebody out of your life, and by the way, you said somebody who wants to emotionally harm or I'm assuming you meant trigger you. People don't intentionally want to harm or trigger you 99% of the time. And if it is somebody who is like a physical threat to you, in any way, then you definitely shouldn't spend time around them. But I think what we're doing is we're confusing people's woundedness. Even when you call somebody a narcissist, like, being somebody that has narcissistic qualities, all that means is that they're wounded, and they behave out of their woundedness. So I'm not saying that they're necessarily someone you want to spend a lot of time with. Probably not. But what I am saying is that when we make the decision to cut somebody out of our lives, first of all, if it's somebody that we really love, and you can love a narcissist. It happens all the time, everywhere, and many, many millions of families, right? Because even people that have narcissistic qualities, and I don't label people narcissist. I don't think it's healthy to label people narcissist, which I can also talk about, but that's not for right this second. But my point is that even if they have those qualities, um, there is still good in them. Every single human being has good in them. We can't see the good, and it might be just a small bit of good, but it's there. We can't see it because we're too wrapped up in our own hurt. And if you are still focusing on the hurt and you can't see even a little bit of good in that person and have a little bit of compassion for them, the only thing that means is that you have hard feelings to feel. That's why the feeling of feelings practice is so incredibly critical, because you are responsible for feeling the hard feelings that come up based on your history with this person, based on all the ways they might have hurt you. It doesn't even matter if they like if you say they're a manipulator or they guilt trip. These these are all their own woundedness. And so what we're trying to do is get to a place where we don't need them to change those behaviors, but we're also not scared to be around them. We also don't feel vulnerable being around them because we're in complete control of ourselves. And this is where I always say that the people that trigger you the most are your greatest teachers, because if you're willing to learn the tools and learn the skills, create the practices, they're like your benchmark, your barometer for for realizing how much you're stepping into your power. Because once you get to a place where they don't trigger you anymore, they have no power over you, even when they do the same behavior, you have all the power then. And it's not about you having power over them. It's just you are empowered. And so, two things on this. The first thing is when you cut somebody out of your life, I guess I started to say this earlier, and you actually love them, what it does is actually creates more suffering. What it does is it creates more suffering for both of you. You think that you're choosing your peace, but you actually subconsciously choose more suffering because it's painful to completely cut somebody out of your life that you love. Secondly, if you are cutting somebody out of your life, what you're actually saying is that I don't trust myself to be around you because of your behaviors. Now, okay, let me just finish that thought. What you're actually saying is that there's something in me that's scared of you. So what it does is it actually gives more power to the thing that you don't want to give power to in the first place. What it actually does is give more power to that person that you cut out, because now they actually do have power over you, because you're choosing not to be around them indefinitely because you don't trust yourself. You're scared because they affect your energy. The real power is learning to be so powerful that you stand in your energy, that you don't leech energy. And by the way, when we call ourselves empaths and highly sensitive person and all those things, all that really means is that you're leeching energy, and you need to learn energy protection. You need to learn how to navigate your energy field. I don't think those are positive terms. In the same way I don't like narcissist and gaslighter and all those things. I don't like terms like empath and HSP and things like that. I don't like any labels. Like I don't even like autism, ADHD, OCD. Like I think we all have different experiences, but sometimes when we label things, we just put ourselves in a box and we can't get out of that box. Same thing when we label other people, we put them in a box and they can't get out of that box. So the first thing is stop labeling yourself and stop labeling everybody else, because you're complex, dynamic human beings who are capable of having a whole set of experiences. When you label yourself, for example, like I have had experience with OCD, but I noticed in the community of people that have OCD, people like really identify with it and say like, I have OCD, like we usually, you might typically say. But when you do that, you really don't allow yourself to have any experience outside of the OCD experience, because now you're identified with it. You are in a box and you can't get out of it. So that's why I think it's really important for us to start changing our language as we go through this journey. And that's also why I don't think it's healthy or helpful for you to cut somebody out of your life completely. For sure, it's necessary to take distance. And, for some people, it might be you see them once a year for like 30 minutes in a group setting, so you don't see them one-on-one, like you don't talk to them outside of that. You know what I mean? Like this is also where the empowerment comes in, and that goes more towards the boundary conversation that I have during a lot of my other lives. But the boundary conversation is more about it, and that's where boundaries are empowering. They're not control, they actually are empowering if you use them right, because what you start to be able to do is take ownership and accountability for how you want the relationship to be. So somebody that maybe you are used to talking to over the phone, but you realize, wait, this person's really triggering for me. I don't really want to talk to them over the phone. Well, like, why am I doing? I'm only doing that because they expect it of me, and like there's a part of me that's maybe scared of offending them, but I don't really want to talk to them. So then your boundary is, I don't talk to them over the phone, and then you honor that boundary. Or your boundary is, I only see them once a year and I don't talk to them in the meantime, like in between that. And they might push back on that. They might feel confused and frustrated. And that's again where we get to sit in our power, because it's uncomfortable, but what we're finally doing is choosing how the relationship goes. We're empowered to choose how we're showing up in the relationship, and we're empowered to choose what energy we give towards those relationships. So it's actually empowering when you have people that trigger you in your life to actually start pulling back your energy and your focus from them, and supporting yourself in the way that you need to be supported, but not cutting them out fully, because first of all, they're a great teacher. You need them in order to build the like Zen level of peace that you want to get to in your life. You need them. You need them, because they're going to push your buttons, and they're going to make you think it's not possible for me to be in a state of peace around them. But yes, it is. Yes, it is. You just have to keep going, and you have to be very intentional about using the practices. Bella, 48 years with a narcissist. I'll do it maybe twice daily. Yeah, you could start doing it like in the morning and at night. Think about what I said about using the word narcissist, by the way, my dear, because what our intention is to create an internal state of peace for ourselves. If we're pointing a finger at somebody and labeling them, do you see how that's incompatible with internal peace? How pointing and labeling, because when you're saying they're a narcissist, there's a whole list of things that they do that is terrible, that you could list off, all the ways they hurt you, all the things that they do that's terrible, all the things that they did, and that's incompatible with internal peace. What we want to actually do is, if you still feel the need to call somebody a narcissist or whatever the term is, explore what feelings come up. Like, I could imagine with 48 years there, like there's probably a lot of hurt. It's probably a lot of sadness. Perhaps there's even disappointment in yourself. And that's where Feeling of Feelings practice comes in. Find it on my YouTube page. But this is what I'm saying. You got to be 1,000% invested in your own internal peace, where pointing the finger at them, being angry at them, isn't more important than your own peace. And it takes time. We're shifting these practices. We're shifting our perspectives. We're shifting our mind frames, and it takes time. Frenzy, do you recommend taking space or just directly approaching challenges? I don't know exactly what that means. Like, what do you mean by challenges? taking space from people that have wounded behaviors absolutely is completely 100% necessary. But I don't know. Yeah, feel free to explain that more if you want. Exactly, Bella. Boundaries are for you, not them. Bella, yes, he's so wounded and it breaks my heart. Yeah, of course it does. Of course it breaks your heart. You want something different for people that you love, but they choose their path and you choose yours. Disco Disco Diva. Okay, I think I got it. Sometimes it's hard to like when all the words are put together, I'm like, okay, wait, is that discode? Disco Diva. Anyway, my 37-year-old daughter lives with me, doesn't clean or help pay bills, stressing me out. Perhaps you could have a conversation. Or it sounds like maybe other boundaries might be helpful in this case. You could watch my other videos on my YouTube page, which are more related to boundaries, I would say. And the feeling of feelings, which goes along with the boundaries conversation, the feeling of feelings, because you got to be able to feel your feelings about the situation. That's separate from whether you do anything about it, right? Like that's just a fundamental thing that you need to learn to do is feel your feelings about it with my feeling of feelings practice. And then once you've got to a place of peace, that's where you set the boundary from. If a boundary is necessary or if a conversation is necessary, perhaps you can talk with her about it and figure out something, a setup that's a little bit different. Evermore just talked about reclaiming my power with my therapist. Awesome. I love that. Oh, hey, Purple Hearts. I think I'm unfortunately getting to the end of our live today. Bella, I said that before you mentioned this. I see your point. Okay, awesome. Awesome, my dear. I love Bella Bohemian Bungalow. It's a cool name. I love all those words separately and together. Sunshine Rainbows, love that too. Thank you for the follow. Let me know if you have any last minute questions. Otherwise, we're probably gonna leave it there for this evening. But any other questions? And again, I am gonna post this live either tonight or tomorrow so that you can go back and watch it. I don't think I have the energy protection thing up of it, a tutorial up at this point, but this one will be up so you can actually go back and listen to it. Bella, I've been listening to a Buddhism audiobook. Oh, nice. This seems kind of like that. Do you practice Buddhism? Yeah, definitely. Yes, Purple Hearts, you can watch what you missed. Yeah, absolutely. And I welcome any likes and comments on my YouTube videos because I just started my channel and trying to get it, up and running. But I wanted to post the longer videos here because I just know that it's really helpful. And I don't know, I'm not really into like making the TikTok short videos. They're kind of annoying to do. So I figure I'll do my lives and then do the post them on YouTube for longer content. But for Bella, yeah, Buddhism, I would say I don't ascribe to any particular religion or philosophy, but if I did, Buddhism would 1,000% be the one that I did. And I think a lot of what I teach and what I practice myself is definitely along the lines with a lot of Buddhist practices. I just can't say like I'm formally or officially a Buddhist because I don't like, I don't like technically practice exactly what Buddhists practice, but for sure, Buddhism is different. It's more of a way of life than a religion. And so that's what makes me more drawn to it because I am not drawn to organized religion, but Buddhism is much more a way of life. And a lot of these practices align with some of the tenets of Buddhism. And you probably, I mean, I'm sure you know more than me, given that you're listening to an audiobook on Buddhism. I haven't actually officially read a lot. I've read different articles and things, but not anything like super formal and in depth. But that's the thing that I like about Buddhism and that I am drawn to about it, is that it's a philosophy, it's a way of life. It's not about following like one human being's practices or idolizing any particular human being. It's about practicing life in a peaceful way and being peace. And that's what I want people to learn how to do, is to be the peace that they seek. And it is hard because we are humans. And I always say it's not about, it's not about like reaching the state of enlightenment where nothing ever, you're in such a high vibration of love, joy, peace, gratitude, all these things that you never dip down into like fear and anger and guilt and shame and hurt and sadness and all these things. Like, we're going to dip down, but it's more about how do we get ourselves back up quickly? Let's learn the skills so that we don't spend days, weeks, months, years down here, even subconsciously, because a lot of what we build our lives from is this subconscious state of fear and anger and lack and scarcity and shame. So when we have the right skills, it doesn't actually matter that we dip, because we know to apply the skills, to apply the practices and get ourselves back up. And that's way more powerful than just like forcing yourself to try to stay in a state of, high vibration, love, joy, peace. That's not actually going to work. You're going to just suppress everything because you're trying to like stay positive, stay positive, stay positive all the time. No, it's not about staying positive all the time. It's about learning how to support yourself when you do feel those low moments so that you get back up quicker. I'm so impressed that you're learning about Buddhism, though. I think that's really beautiful and wonderful. Peace during suffering. I think that, and how I see it kind of is that how can we, like, in this journey, I think you can find peace during suffering when you can find gratitude for the suffering. Um, that's kind of something separate. Maybe I'll talk about that another time. Like, everything, you're always learning lessons. So, like, what is the lesson that you're supposed to be learning in the suffering? Because when there's a lesson, you can always be grateful. And then you can find your way back to peace, because you can know and trust that that lesson was necessary for you. Yes, yes, exactly. All right, my dears, I'm going to end it there for this evening. Thank you so much for joining. You're all beautiful souls. Feel free to go onto my YouTube and check out the other videos that I have, the other tutorials that I have, and I'm sending you all so much love. Thank you for being here. I'll be back on Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you. Bye.